Everybody, it's Third Coast Gaming Radio. Today is Sunday. It's December 13th. We're on episode 13. I'm joined by my co-host, Austin Taylor. How are you doing
Yes,
today?
it is I.
Hmm.
I'm doing well.
He has risen from his slumber to talk about the Game Awards and Cyberpunk with me. It's me, it's Travis Doyle here, hanging out. Big week for games. Besides that, man, Disney put out all that Star Wars shit. I was I was like adding you on Twitter because I was just like, what is all of this coming out?
Yeah, this is all on Thursday. Like so many things happened on Thursday.
Yeah, they are all in on Disney Plus. I know there's a video game podcast, but we talk about movies here too.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. I the Marvel stuff too came out. That Loki trailer is really funny. I was like, oh, it's Owen Wilson just kind of playing himself, which is just what I need. It's fine.
Just
They did with uh ah Jeff Goldblum, that
I
kind of
need
same-ish. I'm cool.
I I need Loki to be like a Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson buddy cop drama.
Yeah, that'd
Is
be
what I
pretty good.
need.
That'd be pretty good.
Yeah, like they opened with like all their Marvel stuff, and it just like the Marvel stuff I already seen like a lot, but then they got into everything coming from Lucasfilm.
Yeah, it's they showed some trailers for some other stuff. I'm just gonna say I got this Verge article. They announced 52 things for Disney Plus over their next, I guess, 5 or 10 years. It's probably closer to 5, but on the Star Wars side, they got Obi-Wan Kenobi with Hayden Christensen coming back as Darth Vader in
My
it.
boy is coming back.
Yeah, you know, will probably be better than episode 2. So, bold statement, I know. Star
I'm
Wars Lando is coming too.
I'm
Um,
so excited.
Star Wars Andor from Rogue One. Is it a prequel or a sequel? I don't know. Maybe
It's
he's
got to
alive
be a
at the end of that.
prequel.
It could be a sequel, or maybe
There's
I don't remember Rogue One. Do you see him getting shot?
well, no, like the ending for his characters, like him and Felicity Jones's character are like sitting on the beach as the Death Star like fires on Scarif, and the
Okay.
blast completely obliterates the Imperial base there.
Yeah, I forgot everything about that movie because I wasn't too into it. But yeah, they'll I would call it the Better Call Saul thing, where you make a prequel and the actor's a little older, but it's fine because it's going to be a good TV show. If I like Diego Luna, I think he can hold a TV show. Um,
Oh yeah,
there's a show called Acolyte by the person who created Russian Doll on Netflix about the High Republic. Which I don't. What's the High Republic?
the High Republic is like so as far as it's a setting. I think it's a relatively new one that Disney went ahead and did. It's not like the Old Republic, like Coder, you know.
Set 200
Um,
years before Phantom Menace.
Yeah, so like this is the next setting that they want to really take time like exploring and setting like stuff, and they've already announced it, a number of books and comics
Yeah,
for the High Republic.
I think that setting is more interesting because, in a weird way, the for me, the Death Star blowing up from the Return of the Jedi is kind of the end of the Empire. I mean, I know there's those the new trilogy focuses and after it's just not as big. I don't know. I
Yeah,
think the High Republic should be cool.
yeah, I don't know. I think like the High Republic is definitely going to be like made by people who think having 100 Jedi around is like a good thing. Um, when I personally wouldn't get that read.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, I guess we'll see. We'll have to see what they end up doing with it. I would like smaller Jedi adventure stories. Like there were some books that were like adventures about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan just going and doing missions the Jedi Council sent them on.
Yeah, like I remember, yeah, I read a lot of those as a
Yeah.
kid. Like they were all because there's like it actually is like a two-part series because there's like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and then there's like later with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and it was like between these two people. One of them was called Granta Omega, I think, because that's the kind of name that comes out of a kid's Star Wars book.
Agreed. And then spin-off Mandalorian stuff, Rangers of the New Republic and Ahsoka. Cool stuff. Rogue Squadron is a movie
Yeah,
by the Wonder Woman 1984 director and a
I'm
Taika Waititi Star Wars movie.
I'm really excited. I know Deborah Cho is working on one of these shows.
Who is?
Deborah Cho, she's a director for a couple of the episodes of Mandalorian, right? So like what we're seeing right now is
Let's see what it says.
Deborah Cho. I'm trying to remember which one of these she's actually leading
Oh, is she leaving
because
a
it's
show?
well, she's directing a show. It's just so much, right? I remember because I looked this up yesterday. I looked all this up yesterday, and now I think about it, and it's boot news. Um, oh,
Someone updated
she's
her.
doing Obi-Wan.
Okay, great.
She's leading Obi-Wan. Yeah, so like I think it's really interesting with like where the Mandalorian, like how like a bunch of these directors are like springboarding off the Mandalorian because like now they know how to like direct live action Star Wars.
Oh yeah, she directed 2 episodes of The Mandalorian season 1, and
Yeah,
she did some American Gods and Better Call Saul. Some
yeah, and now
fairly
like
good.
Filoni, like Dave Filoni, who's like the animation lead
Mhm.
for like the Star Wars, like specifically around Clone Wars, is going to be leading Ahsoka, the Mandalorian spinoff.
Cool. He's the guy who should do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's
And like
perfect.
he directed the episode where Rosario Dawson like played Ahsoka this
Okay.
season.
I haven't watched
And
it yet. I know
oh,
she's in it though.
dude. Okay, cool. I'm sorry.
No, it's
So
fine.
glad I didn't spoil that for you. It's a
Yeah,
really good episode. Like
cool.
it's a real big improvement on like his last foray into directing live action Star
Okay.
Wars.
Just so I remember, is Mandalorian after the original trilogy or is it
It
before the
is.
original trilogy?
It's
Okay.
after like it's set between original trilogy and like sequel.
Okay, cool. Because I saw Ahsoka in it and I was like, is she still alive at that point? I guess
Yeah,
so.
yeah. There's some stuff that happens in Rebels.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Good. And then the Disney Plus is the other stuff is they showed off the Falcon and the Winter Soldier got its full trailer, which I, I like those two actors. I'm into them doing stuff.
Yeah, I think
Captain
it'll be
America.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think Falcon Winter Soldier will be fun. I like Sebastian Stan as like Bucky. I think he's like a kind of like I want to say off kilter kind of fella, like in there. Or at least he was like in the first couple of movies he was in. But I think he's really like gotten into a groove
Yeah, yeah. He
with
definitely
where that.
started out as, he was a bad he was a bad guy in Winter Soldier in his second time as their guy, and then kind of start coming back a little bit. Man, some of the Pixar stuff is coming out too. It's gonna be Baymax TV show. I think there's a Lightyear
And there's more. Yeah,
TV.
there's a
Is it a
Lightyear
Lightyear
animated
spin-off
series
movie?
featuring
An origin story, voiced
Chris
by Chris
Evans.
Evans, in theaters 2022. If high hopes for 2022 and a vaccine. But besides that, um, I I love. Did you watch Toy Story 2 with them playing the Buzz Lightyear video game?
I did. Yeah.
I would take a whole movie of that.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I'm just. I'm glad they replaced Tim Allen, but
Yeah, yeah.
that's really my only real take there.
Uh, there's gonna be an Alien TV show on FX and Hulu.
God, yes.
I love aliens. Ice
Give
Age.
give me that grunge sci-fi, please.
Yeah. Some who's the artist for the original one? Geiger, H.R. Geiger. Some weird Geiger's art. Maybe he'll show up in it. Some news, yeah. Disney Plus going to $8 a month, and keep going strong. Well, that my family and I were talking about this a little bit because Disney Plus is just kind of getting to the point where it's like, hey, you can direct. I mean, yeah, you can directly pay Disney now, but that like interaction, more of the profit is going to Disney, so they can put it back into their products and TV shows, which they make good TV shows sometimes, and they usually have heart when they do come out with it. And I'm hoping for a Tron. I'm hoping for a Tron TV show, Austin. That's the top of the list for
Travis,
me.
Travis, I appreciate the optimism.
Haha.
Yeah, I don't know, it's interesting, right? Like they're producing all of this content, and this is still like one of the cheaper subscription services that you can pay for. I don't know, just the volume of stuff. I don't think a lot of these TV shows are going to get more than like a season.
Mhm.
Um, but like, man, they're throwing stuff at me, and I'm ready to eat.
Yeah, and I think I think I'm on the point where I'm like I'd be okay with most of these just being one season. I like a story that'll end. Like I have problems. Like I was trying to go back and watch X Files, and I watched a couple episodes and was like I'm never gonna finish this. Or
Yeah.
next generation Deep Space Nine, I'm like 3 seasons in of each. But like sometimes like a character, you don't need to be in a character's life for 10 years because it's usually just them whatever the most exciting stuff is. Like an example is like, most of the Star Trek episodes is like there's usually something bad happening every episode to these characters.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's all like serialized. Like Star Trek, like is about in specifically the next generation is about like people who are really good at their jobs, like solving problems.
Yeah, yeah. But I think I like them going, I maybe I'm sure the things that get the most views will end up being the stuff that they make season twos and season threes of. I could see them keep going with Loki and Tom Hiddleston because I think he can carry a show pretty well from what
Yeah, I
I've
mean,
seen from.
yeah, I guess the thing with like Hiddleston is like he's also been doing this for a while, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. And I'm
Uh,
intrigued by WandaVision. It's coming out January 15th.
that
Close.
is that is the one I'm the most interested in from like
Yeah,
their
it's
Marvel slate. It looks
yeah,
like nothing we've seen before from
yeah.
Marvel, and I cannot wait.
And
Um,
from the Star Wars side, I'm most interested in Bad Batch because I didn't really watch a lot of Clone Wars or Rebels at all. But I
yeah,
think I'll watch Bad Batch. My idea is I'm gonna go watch that, and I'll probably go back and watch some of the Clone Wars stuff.
yeah. I mean, the thing with the Bad Batch is like they were introduced in the last season of Clone Wars, and like the first 4 episodes is where they come in, and then they have like no bearing on the rest of the series. Um, I think Rebels is definitely worth watching, and I think there's a good amount of Clone Wars that is worth watching.
Okay, I
Um,
heard mixed things about Rebels, but if you say it holds up, I'll probably dip into it. I like stuff that takes place in the original trilogy too. Like
yeah,
I'll take more of that.
and I think with like Rebels is like so much about Rebels is like about overcoming like the trauma of like Order 66 and like trying to become like these people like realizing that they need to be accountable for the actions they did in the past like as the series progresses, and it still has the vibe of like a Disney XD show.
Okay,
But I think it's generally speaking a really interesting like Star Wars series. I would say more interesting to me than like the Clone Wars was.
okay, cool. That sounds good. Yeah, I'll definitely dip into it. Do you want to get into the Game Awards? Unless there's any quick hits from like that list of things that are coming out for Disney Plus.
I don't think so. I think we've covered everything we need to discuss as it revolves around this m- just insane amount of content from Disney.
So much, so much. All right, should we talk about the Game Awards themselves, or do you want to talk about the trailers first?
I
Do
think
trailers.
I think we should do trailers. I think those are a bit more fun.
Yeah. Um. Dude, that Evil Dead trailer. There was an Evil Dead trailer for like a Left 4 Dead style game that's coming out. Oh, Bruce
Yeah,
Campbell. Oof, ready.
yeah. And we should also like preface like Game Awards. Also, like last Thursday, big like 3 hour event hosted by Jeff Keighley, which was a lot of handing out trophies to people through Zoom calls and uh, blasting some advertisements for games we'll be getting in the future at some point.
Yeah. You know, there's a. I keep coming back and forth on being like, are the trailers good for it? Should it just focus on celebrating it? But I think you get the trailers and you're celebrating forward about what's coming up, and then you're celebrating what happened in the year of. So that's where I land on it.
I mean, the thing is, like, you
I've been
can't.
thinking about it a lot.
I don't think financially, as it's set up currently, I don't think the show works without the trailers because that's what gets engagement more
Mhm.
so than the award show. Um, like if it was just Jeff Keighley handing out awards to people, I don't think anyone would be watching it anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's a what do you call it? It's a relationship that both parties get something out of. We get to celebrate the good games, and they're on YouTube, and it's a big show, and then we get some cool trailers. Let's see. What else was coming out of that? There was that Dead Rising. Someone from the Dead Rising team is making a new game. It is
Oh, Dead Space, the
yeah, the Dead Space. Did I
there's
say Dead
you said
Rising?
Dead Rising,
Yeah, I don't
yeah,
even
the
know.
Callisto Protocol,
Callisto Protocol. So that seems pretty.
which
I'm pretty
looks
into that.
yeah, and like you can already see like some Dead Space stuff in there. Like it looks like the health bar that the player will use is going to be like an implant in the back of your character's neck.
Nice. Let me get the name of the dev. I don't know how many people were
That is
started
Striking
in that.
Distance
Yeah,
is the name of the developer, and the I guess the lead here is Glenn Schofield.
right. And that, yeah, I'm into that. Did they show off gameplay from that? I don't think I watched a lot.
Mm. No,
Oh,
it was
world
just the
premiere.
trailer. Yeah, it was the world premiere of like the trailer, right? So it starts with this person waking up in a cell and then being eaten by a monster.
Oh, and there's a robot in there too.
Yeah, there's also like a malfunctioning robot.
Ooh, a monster. Spooky. There was like, was it Bad for Blood? I can't quote any game correctly. Let's
I mean,
see.
it's a pretty
There's the
generic title.
Back for Blood from
Yeah,
the
it was
Left 4
just
Dead creators and Turtle Rock. Hey,
yeah.
nobody's doing Left 4 Dead stuff. So,
Well,
I mean, yes, there is. Okay.
I mean, there's like some, but like nothing with like the pedigree of like
Yeah.
the Left 4 Dead team, right? So also like of course Turtle Rock is gonna like make this game, right? Like they tried Evolve, it didn't work.
Yeah.
We need a banger, y'all.
Yeah. 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 You know, stuff they are doing. It's like, there's that Stigmar Vermintide one, and then there's. I know there's a zombie one. I just can't
There,
think of it right now.
it's World War Z.
There's World War Z. That's a third person one. There's a first person one too.
Um,
But anyway, it doesn't matter. Does that Dragon Age trailer do anything for you?
I mean, no, because it's. I mean, well, yes, right. Like it does in the sense that like they showed me some pretty locations, and I was like, oh yes, please, this is what I want.
Thief is
Um,
drinking wine over here. Oh my god, the city.
yeah, there's just like this really
Wow.
like dope looking city, and this is definitely in like Teventer, which is like
Huh.
the mage state of the Dragon Age world. So it's definitely into Vinter. But you just see this like floating tower on this crescent structure. And as soon as I was like, yes, this is what I want to see more of this. Give me this game. Um,
Yeah. What if just what if it's just Night City but for mages, That's my cyberpunk reference for the day.
I mean, it would be more interesting.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
New Among Us map. It's on a fly. It's just a giant like what would you even call this? It's an airplane with the spinning turbines like the Avengers have.
yeah, carrier, like an
Yeah,
airship.
it's an airship. Master Chief's in Fortnite. he just looks so good. That trailer was so dumb, and I was just way into it. He just okay? There's like a fish dude walking up to a refrigerator, and Master Chief is just like in the freezer, and he just walks out with like the Fortnite like AR, and it's just like, all right, guys, I'm ready to go. And then they're doing someone made a Blood Gulch map too. I don't know if
Yeah.
I think it was the team of Fortnite, but someone put that up, and you can go play on that in like a custom server. I think. I don't think it's on the normal map.
Yeah, I think it's actually I think Blood Gulch is like something that was a like a community creation of some sort. It was like an independent creation, and I think Epic has sort of is now supporting that in a different mode.
Yeah. All right, let me see. Can you drive the warthog around? No, but you get a little. Yeah, you get a little warthog. I don't know if you can actually drive it. I think it's an item or something. I think you can just drive it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there are cars in Fortnite now, but
Yeah.
I also haven't played Fortnite since like its original release.
I haven't jumped on in a while. I hopped in to check out 2.0, and that's like I think as much as I was playing. Let me see if that. It's just you remember the like it looks like a mini go kart, and Master Chief just crouched down sitting in it. If you get that picture, it's a
Oh,
very good picture of Master Chief.
he's such a big boy in a small vehicle.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm gonna have to
Oh,
save
I
that
love
picture.
it. And it's so weird because like they made the warthog and not like the mongoose. You
Yeah,
have a small single person vehicle in Halo and you just made the warthog that instead.
it's true. They should have given us both, but Warthog is very iconic.
Yeah, the
It would
warthog's
be
the
the
like
one they start with. If
the
this is
iconic.
big, I think from what I've been hearing about this is that if you're on PS4, you're gonna see Master Chief running around. Their skins carry over in crossplay. I think you can buy them too. Can I buy Master Chief in Fortnite on PS4? I think they were saying you can, which would be a weird. You will be able to use Fortnite and buy it on PS5 and PS4, same as Kratos. So that's cool. I'll probably buy that. That'll be the one cosmetic I buy. Austin is Master Chief.
I mean, yeah, I can see that. Like this is as good as he's looked in recent memory. So
Yeah,
and other
seven
and like
logo, good stuff.
yeah,
Um, this Evil West thing, also a Left 4 Dead game, I think.
another
Um,
one.
yeah, it's another one. I'll take it. Um, it looks like that. Uh, hmm. There's that Western steampunk movie, Jonah Hex. I'm getting
No,
vibes from that.
please,
Yeah, I know, right?
please, no,
Reference bad movies here, B
not
movies. But
not the.
you have like a gauntlet that like extends like spikes or something that you're punching people with, and you have like a repeater and your pistols. It's just like you have Wolverine claws. It's fine.
Yeah, it looks fine. It looks like it'll be. I just
The trailer, the
I'm gonna be
trailer's more hype.
recovering from that Jonah Hex pull for a while.
Oh yeah,
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Like it looks a bit like fun. Like it looks like it's just gonna be like a good time, like kill monsters in the dark
yeah.
fantasy Wild West.
The idea for me would be make this a PS Plus game that people get for free. If it's like a multiplayer thing. Fucking Swedish Chef is coming to Overcooked, Austin. My boy. I love
That is the boy. That is the Mustachio Man.
Yeah. Maybe
Uh,
I'll play Overcooked and only play as the Swedish Chef.
yeah. I will. I will say, like, as I look at all of this in the Game Awards, I think for me, like the things that like do stand out are some of these like smaller titles that we see here, like Season, which just basically dropped a trailer that immediately hit with like some lo-fi like like a lo-fi like Zelda playlist I used to listen to when I was like editing stories.
I've definitely been in those.
Yeah, it's like the music in this trailer like immediately hits with that, and then like this game aesthetic is
That
just
is that Open
fantastic.
Roads or which one is that?
This is Season.
Season. Oh, okay. I
Yeah, so
missed
this
the
is right
part.
above this is right above Road 96
Okay.
um on this list from compiled by Polygon. And it seems like it's going to be like dealing with like millennial anxiety as far as it goes for like the crumbling world that was left us by the people who came before us.
Yeah.
So that
I hope
seems like a
your
good time.
the arts in this are really cool too. I hope you're.
Yeah,
It's just. Oh, okay. Here's the gameplay. Yeah. I I could use more adventure games where you're not just shooting people. I think that's where I'm kind of been in my life right now. Yeah. The grass looks really good. Oh, this is beautiful. Did they say when this is gonna come out, man?
I don't think it's
I
been
could use
formally
this
announced, but
right.
yeah, I there's no release date attached to this trailer, but
Yeah.
I am
It
waiting for this one.
it looks like aesthetically, art speaking, I get like Gravity Rush vibes a little bit off of this.
Yes, I remember thinking that, and for a moment I was like, this sounds a bit crazy actually. I don't know if I do, but like the more I look at just this like few seconds of her walking in this town at the end of this trailer, I'm like, this I feel like I'm in Gravity Rush again.
Yeah,
Even though I know you won't be like flinging boulders and people around.
I'm into this. It's just like an adventure. It's an adventure game for all
Yeah.
ages. Hey
And
man.
then another one, so you mentioned this before, but we do have open worlds from the team at Fulbright, who are the developers behind Tacoma and Gone
Yeah.
Home.
Oh, open roads. I see.
Open roads, yeah.
Is it a first
This
person game?
it probably is, considering their other two projects. Um, but I think like immediately the thing that's very striking to me is the fact that like aesthetically speaking, the people in the car, the mother and daughter in this car, and the book that the daughter is holding look very different than like the car they're in or the road that they're on.
Yeah, because it's like a 3D polygonal game, and they are hand like it looks like they're not hand animated, but it's like 2D animation.
Yeah, like they're
Jewel
very
Store Bandit
2D.
Strike Again. Is what
Yeah,
this
they're like
title
very
is.
2D in here. It's
Cool. Yeah.
like the aesthetic is very striking. Just watching them, like seeing them still is a bit weird, but I think once this gets moving in this trailer and hopefully within the main game, I think it's very striking. I'm also very
Yeah.
excited to see what they do next because Tacoma was great.
You know, Road 96 by the people who make Valiant Hearts is another one on here. Another road trip game. Um,
Man,
this one looks
something about
interesting.
roads.
Yeah. Ad- hey,
People just want to
adventures.
drive again.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think this
this
one's
is.
first person too. Yeah. There's a lot of you talking to people on phones, and you're in a whatchamacallit. You're in a restaurant that's getting robbed. Kind of reminds me of like that part in Pulp Fiction. And then
Yeah,
there's just
well,
a bunch
like
of stuff going on.
it looks like a choice based thing, right? So like it looks like like if you're walking on the road, you can decide whether or not you take a ride from these two bikers who are wearing masks. And it looks like you're sitting in their sidecar, and then if you do take a ride with them, you get pulled into assisting with a restaurant robbery.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, I'll agree with you. I think I'm interested in these indies a lot more than like I have a certain high level for like, Master Chief being in Halo or like,
Yeah,
you know, what was the other one I was really yeah, is the Evil Dead game coming back with that stuff. But yeah, there's a bunch of these games that are not like AAA companies that are closer to indie studios that yeah, I'm more excited about.
yeah.
Endless Dungeon, another one on here.
I feel like I've heard of it. I feel like Endless Dungeon is a known quantity. I feel like I've heard of this before. Oh no, it's Dungeon of the Endless. Never mind.
Yeah, this one is like a top-down dungeon
Yeah.
crawler. God, this game is also beautiful. A bunch of these indie games are coming out. Good art style is very beautiful. Good physics in this. It looks like you ever play Helldivers on PS4?
Yep. Yeah, I did
Kind
for
of like
like the week before
for the
Bloodborne
week,
came
yeah.
out.
Same. And then all my friends stopped playing. I was like, oh, I should not play this because I will salt everywhere. That's cool. Oh, hey, we missed the biggest one. The silliest one is fucking Mario getting stabbed by
Oh
getting
my
stabbed
god.
by Sephiroth.
I feel like that deserves its own episode. Just the iconography of Mario being run through by Sephiroth's giant sword.
Yeah, just and spoilers for 20-year-old game. It's the same like angle that like kind of like Aerith. No, Aerith got stabbed from the back. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's just
they didn't
and
like
it turns out it's
recreate.
just yeah because there's like a silhouette of Sephiroth and Mario, and it looks like he gets stabbed, but it's actually just like his overalls that were like he's holding him by the edge of his sword. It's very funny.
Yeah, it's a meme. This is a meme. This became a
Yeah,
meme format in like 3 seconds.
yeah. They have like Advent Children Cloud over here too, doing his. God damn it! I'm just gonna have to buy set. The one character I would buy is Sephiroth for Ultimate, even though I don't play it too much. Do you think? Do you think remakes ever gonna come to Switch?
Final Fantasy remake?
Yeah, 7 remake.
No,
No.
no, there's no way.
Yeah. How about
The
to
Switch is such a
the
tiny boy.
yeah? How about to the Switch Plus whenever that comes out?
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
if they make one that can put it on there, I'm sure that like once console exclusivity is up, because I think it's a console exclusive for
Yeah.
PlayStation. Like once the exclusivity for the Final Fantasy VII remake is, I'm sure they'd love to port it on whatever platform Nintendo has that can run it.
You know who the weird celestial being in Smash Bros. Ultimate is? That he
Oh
just slashes in half in the very opening of this?
no, this isn't like I
Because
don't
he's
know
like
the
the
name
main
of this. I
villain
know
of Ultimate, or this entity is like the main villain of Ultimate, isn't it?
yeah, this is like the dude who this is the thing that shows up and like turns everyone but Kirby into a statue.
Yeah,
Um
they just open it with him murdering it. Good trailer. Good trailer. All right,
wild.
let's go. Let's go
So
on to the awards. I
yeah.
grabbed all the games I wanted to. I don't know if you was there anything else
Oh
on
no,
the
I
list
did.
that I kind of missed about?
No, I'm yeah, there's nothing else. Like there's nothing else that's big, right? Like we got an announcement for a Perfect Dark game. We got like a few seconds of a Mass Effect teaser, which I have I have nothing to say about it, either of those.
Yeah. The So the awards themselves, it looks like Last of Us 2 got Game of the Year, and it was up against Animal Crossing: New Horizons, Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Tsushima, and Hades. And I guess the people who vote for these, they get a bunch of journalists to vote for them.
Yeah, so my understanding of the voting format for like the main awards for the Game Awards is that they send out like inquiries to several publications, like journalistic publications,
Mm-hmm.
that work in games, and then these publications send back like what they would nominate to like the Game Awards, and then like the people working the Game Awards aggregate these like nominees to see who gets like the most nominees, and that sort of forms these tickets, and they send like this list, like this compiled list, back to outlets, and then outlets vote on which of these like on this ticket they would vote for, right? At least that's how it's been explained in like the past, and this is specifically with the experience of the people over at Waypoint, because to my knowledge, they're the only people who actually like speak about who have spoken about like how that works.
Okay, and yeah, I didn't play Last of Us 2, but I could see it being the winner for this. I don't have too
I
many
mean,
thoughts on it.
it was always going to be like these awards. Like I do have thoughts on
Yeah,
the
go
Game
for it.
Awards. And like my thought with these is that these are still like even in format and both like in spirit of what they want to celebrate, chasing like the Oscars in a really uninteresting way. Like the person to present this year's Game of the Year award was Christopher Nolan,
Yeah. Did
which was so weird.
Because there's a bunch of like,
Yeah,
gosh,
I mean,
what's
there's
her
a bunch of Hollywood
name?
people.
Yeah, there's a
Like,
bunch of
there's a bunch
Hollywood
of like
people.
Hollywood types. They got Keeley booked Brie Larson,
Yeah,
uh, Gal
Gal
Gadot.
Gadot, Keanu
They have
Reeves.
they got like they even got Stephen A. Smith.
They even got Tom Holland to do some stuff too.
Well, like Tom Holland kind of makes sense, right? He's working in an Uncharted movie.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Uh,
I completely forgot
like
about that.
Keanu Reeves makes sense because Keanu is in like the year's biggest release. I don't think we can say arguably it is the year's biggest release.
And Brie
Um,
Larson, big into Animal Crossing. She's in that Animal Crossing trailer. She talks about it a lot in some interviews.
yeah, I mean, like, sure, like that's also a thing, but like, I don't like that. I like how much this focuses on like Hollywood types, on like bringing them in to like give some like weird legitimacy to this event. I would much rather like developers be presenting these awards in a real way. Like, I would very much rather see like
Yeah,
I'd be much more interested in seeing like a John Romero discuss the awards, and that's not even like something I'm really interested in. That's just a name I have at the tip of my tongue, who is more relevant in games to me than Stephen A. Smith. Um,
like I would, like have Neil Druckmann give someone an award.
mm,
He's like the closest thing to like in a director type position. Or like I know he has a big game up. It's their Last of Us 2, but like people in the industry who we know like Neil Druckmann or like Ken Levine or like you know big
I don't
game producers like that.
sure, and like you can get into like producers, you can get into like developers like within the indie space, like those who like have a more of like a public facing like persona, like
Yeah,
arguably better than like getting uh like Yosef Fares to present award. Like maybe see if you want to get the person who directed Stardew Valley. I'm pretty sure he'd say no. He doesn't seem like the type of person to want to do that type of thing. But it would be so much more interesting to me
yeah, yeah. I
if you get someone like him up.
I'll agree with you.
So
But he's the
then
guy.
we
He's
get
the
to
guy who said "fuck the Oscars," so you got to bring him in
you
every
really
year.
don't. God, I mean,
That's why he's there.
it is.
He's a part of
I don't know.
history.
I gotta think. Like that's a whole thing. It's a whole separate
It's a
thing.
whole thing. We don't have to get into that. But okay. So I'll frame this in the way. What picks do you like out of this? Let's keep positive.
If
Uh,
I go through like picks that I like, I mean, scrolling down the list, gotta find it. I mean, Hades won Best Indie Game.
yeah,
It's like, it's like Hades is the best game like on any ticket it's in. Uh, and that's about the only thing I liked. Like I look at Game of the Year and like Game Direction. I think those are. Mm, I
like
don't have like much of it.
Phasmophobia. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I don't have like much of an opinion as far as like The Last of Us 2 for like Game of the Year, but like I don't know if a studio that crunches the way that like Naughty Dog does should win Best Game Direction.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that. There should be some response from them talking about that. I don't know. A lot of these things come out and they only want to talk about the positives of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm doing the
it's
same thing, but yeah, I'll agree with you. They
yeah,
should not award people for hurting their developers
no.
or
Well, I mean,
working
it's
them.
part of
I wouldn't call it hurting them, but they're overworking them.
hurting. Hurting is fine. Hurting works.
Yeah,
Um, and I think like for game direction specifically, we do need to think about we need to refocus what we mean when we say game direction, because I think with this award show they mean the game was put together and looks really good when it run when you play it, right? I
Yeah,
don't think they mean how the project was managed.
and I think how the project was managed. Someone would when they I think Sucker Punch does not crunch their employees at all. Let me double check that. It
I
was either Sucker Punch or someone else.
It's Supergiant. I know
Supergiant's one
Supergiant
of
doesn't.
them.
I don't know if Sucker Punch could say that.
Maybe
They
it's not.
are
Who game? I
they're
know the
big one.
there's a lot of game studios that come out that talk about how they do not do crunch environments for their games. Let's see. I know the people who do the Batman games usually don't. They've talked about that. The Rocksteady Studios.
Yeah.
Hmm. I think IO. I don't know. As being a top of the head thing, I don't think I can think of anything right now. But yeah, those would be people who you would give. I would call that game direction. I would
Yeah, I
call
would
that
say
if we're talking about game direction, like Anthem not coming together for the last year of them actually figuring out what that game was.
yeah, absolutely. We need to consider direction as far as more than just what is on the disc and how it's presented to us. We need to understand that direction is this project, this entire multi-year project.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the current game awards sort of environment allows us to rephrase it in that way or refocus on it in that way.
Yeah. All right. What else is on here that I like? I like Final Fantasy VII getting score and music. I know it's an old score, but them redoing it,
Well, yeah,
I really like it. It's really
it's
good.
pretty well done. Redo yeah, it's a really well orchestrated score.
Animal Crossing,
Worth
best family
mentioning.
game. I played the game for 5 months. I haven't been back to it in a while. I still haven't. I was hyping up that Halloween stuff as we were talking about, and I never did Halloween, and it been busy.
Yeah,
I'll get
let's
back to
see.
you.
It's all right. I'm going through everything. Games for Impact still doesn't mean anything to me.
Best best other indie game.
Well, it's yeah, it's that Games for Impact really is just these are the indie games that we know people think are really good, but not but ones we didn't play.
Yeah, or they're
Um,
saying something.
yeah, or they're outwardly trying to say something in
Yeah,
a
which
way that you don't have to engage with the work in a hard way to understand.
yeah, and I hear a lot of good things about Tell Me Why. You were talking about it a couple weeks ago.
Sergio was
Good,
talking about
good.
Tell Me
Sergio
Why.
was talking
Yeah,
about it. Yes,
that
I have
was
a.
Sergio came on to discuss that.
He did. Oh, No Man's Sky winning ongoing game. Yeah, go for it. They need.
Yeah,
They had a rough launch.
I would say so. Yeah, keep every year we're just gonna keep telling you you're doing good.
Yeah, I don't know if I can play that game anymore. It's too much for my lizard brain, but
Oh, it's entirely too much.
it was so much. I also played it with you and Sergio. I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on at all.
Yeah, he's you spawned on a frozen planet that was killing you, and we played.
Yeah, it's fine. Microsoft Flight Simulator, best sim strategy. Like
Makes no
combine
sense
those
to
two,
me.
I guess.
That makes no sense to me.
Maybe just have a strategy category. I don't know if you had to put sim in there too.
Well, yeah, it's a weird thing. These are very different games. Flight Simulator is very different from any of the other games that are on here. These are four strategy games and then Flight Simulator.
Yeah, weird get. I don't. And they have enough room. They have. I'm not gonna get into them because I don't watch a lot of esports, but they have esports team, best esports team, esports host, esports game, esports event, esports coach, esports athlete. So they're kind of getting them in there. Best multiplayer game Among Us. Full in favor of that. Free game. It's it's like someone took the idea of playing Avalon or one of those games and made it into a board game, into a video game, which is cool.
They made it into a board game, then back into a video game.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Are you ready for the Among Us board game to come out, Austin?
They're reverse engineering. I mean,
They're gonna make it.
yeah, those probably exist in a way. I'm sure that there's like a way that those exist in like outside of things like Secret Hitler, you know?
Yeah, I've done one where you can do it at a bar. I don't mean God. What's my brain? I did. I was at a bar and there was some guy we were doing it outside. It was like Outlaws and like something else. But you can do it in like a roundabout, like where you're just talking with people. We didn't even have a board game for it. We were just like, one guy was like the sheriff, and he'd be like, "Oh, these guys died at night.
Yeah.
Who do you think the outlaws were?"
Oh yeah, and then yeah, because you have like Outlaw, that's like it sounds like a variation on Werewolf,
Hmm.
which is like a similar game where you like sit in like a circle and you have cards that determine roles and like one or two people are like werewolves and have to like decide to who they're killing every night, you know, and you have to find out who's the werewolf before they take over like they kill too many villagers.
Yeah, because if the werewolves eat everyone, they win. And then if the
Oh, yeah,
village wins, then they take over. All right. Um, any other Game Awards stuff on there? I think.
I think we've I
Yeah.
think we've sort of said all this stuff here. Jeff Keighley had some cool shoes.
Oh, I didn't see his shoes. Let me look. Let
They
me
were
Google
very
his shoes.
they were very blue. They stood out. But that's about all.
Someone, someone joked that they look like Sora's shoes from Kingdom Hearts or something.
I mean, they really stand out. He's wearing a suit, right? And he's just
Yeah.
wearing tennis shoes.
Yeah, business casual. Is that what they call it? Yeah, he's just hanging out. You know,
Yeah,
gotta love your shoes. Are those the PlayStation shoes or something? Or are they
they
just
might be.
the blue ones? I want
I
those.
mean,
I don't think it's the PlayStation shoes. Anyway, we got some CD Projekt Red stuff to go through.
yeah, we got some. Now we got some real
Cyberpunk.
news.
Yeah. The couple things to sum up. This game came out hot. They wanted to put it out for Christmas, and I think it's close enough to. Games come out early access now. I'm without them calling it that. Most of these games aren't done. It's a little buggy, like a Bethesda game. I'm playing it on Xbox One S, and it looks like I'm on low or medium, like quality settings on like a PC to be comparative.
Yeah, I'm going through it right now on a PS4 Pro, and you know, it looks like kind of a little bit under what I can get on like medium on my PC.
Yeah, and I think I have this. I brought this one up for Jason Schreier. Originally, they the there was going to be a bonus structure based on getting a 90 on Metacritic, but I
Oh
think
God,
how hot this game is coming out, they got rid of that after how buggy it was, which
yeah.
I don't think
So
you should have bonuses based on Metacritic. I know that the New Vegas thing came out and they were like 3 points away, and the people at Obsidian didn't get a bonus because of it. Which is like you're crunching these people. You should pay them more because they're working way harder, not because you get a 90 on Metacritic. Been work because this game's they've been working on it since what 2012, probably a little earlier in 2012.
yeah,
That's
so
when it was
like
announced.
they announced that they were like making a bid and had gotten the license to use the Cyberpunk 2020 property in 2012, and they released the trailer for 2077 in 2013. They announced that they were putting the project together like a couple months later at like E3, and they were describing like basically they hadn't yet, I don't think, produced anything with about The Witcher 3 yet. So in a real way, Cyberpunk 2077 was the first time that CD Projekt ever talked about really making a large open world RPG.
Yeah, in
Um,
the vein of like a Bethesda RPG, which
yeah,
like the similarities I have felt in the first like 5 hours. I played this game 4 hours.
Well, it used to like the vision that they were selling us on, they sold me on in high school, definitely was that this was going to be like, unlike anything we'd ever seen, it was going to like contain that sort of freedom that you get in the tabletop. Like you could play as like in the tabletop game, you can play as like a rock star, you can play as a journalist, and their selling point was that they would replicate that these classes and that like play style in 2077.
Well,
Of course,
that's
and then
like.
it went silent.
Sorry, go for it.
Then it went silent as like the Witcher 3 production
Hmm.
like had to ramp up, and then like once The Witcher 3 was out, released in 2015, they could get back to 2077, and that's when we see like specifically like this mercenary story that they want to tell with
Yeah, which is
2077.
like the narrowing, because you start out with a project being wide, thinking about what you want to do with it, and then it
Yeah.
narrows to make a video game out of it. Yeah, you see that a lot with stuff.
Oh yeah, it had
If
to happen.
if this sells well, I
It did.
hope it. I haven't looked at the sales too much. I saw 8 million pre-orders. I haven't looked at anything besides that, but I think we're gonna see this property come through more, and I hope they will focus on other stuff besides Mercenary, because that's been. I'm getting. I'm kind of getting tired of going into people's apartments and shooting people.
Yeah,
I know
I
that's
think
like
that.
a such a gameplay thing is connected to being a first-person shooter or something because you're fighting people, but I don't know. That's what we were talking about with the Game Awards stuff, where there's that open world exploration game. Anyway,
Yeah, it's
for it.
it's kind of like where they landed, right? Like I'm sure going off of like it just allows them to make like a air quote like engaging game and kind of like focus on a specific thing. So that's how you just get a mercenary story with like using the technically three classes that exist in 2020 as like starting life paths instead of classes that you can then build off of. I will say, as far as its sales goes, they've already reported that they've more than basically paid for the cost of development for this game.
Okay, that's good. And
So
sorry,
that
go for
doesn't
it.
account for like I don't think it accounts for advertising.
Yeah, I was
Is the
about to say
thing.
advertising too. And then I think I saw I just loaded it up because there was a patch that came out
Yeah,
yesterday. I think it was the um, Saturday, the 12th of December. The 16 gig patch. It looks about the same. It still looks like it's about a low end. It looks like someone took some Vaseline and smeared it on my monitor while I'm playing. That's kind of everything looks. It looks like a game that is a PS5, Xbox Series X game.
yeah. Like there's going to be a version of that game that exists specifically on on those consoles, and it's going to be like probably on par with like a higher, maybe like a high end sort of
Yeah.
PC, not like ultra, but like somewhere like between like mostly medium or like high end high settings on PC.
But as
Uh,
like a consumer, I got Cyberpunk because I saw that they have free Series X PS5 upgrades. So I was like,
yeah,
okay, I'm gonna play a little bit of this because it's new, and I want to look in that cyberpunk world. Like I'm a big fan of Ghost in the Shell, and the cities look so similar. There's these crowded, like Japanese-looking infrastructure cities where there's roads and high buildings everywhere, and it's cluttered. And I know I'm getting a Series S, so I'll probably play more of it on a Series S. But like, you have to be like a smart consumer, you know.
yeah. But like but getting back to this bonus story about
Mhm.
their bonus structure at CD Projekt, did you did you get to this part where they're discussing like the bonus structure they had in place?
I did not. What's up with
Where
that?
okay, so the bonus system that CD Projekt used for developers working on Cyberpunk 2077 was complicated.
Tokens.
Every month, team leaders at the company gave out tokens styled after the studio's logo, a red bird, to members of their team they felt deserved honors, according to three current and former employees. Those tokens would have been transferred into bonuses if the game met certain criteria, like critical acclaim and a timely release.
That's
Um,
weird. I don't
that
know who
is
comes up with these things.
disgusting.
Yeah.
I hate this.
Yeah, like it's like I give a token to the graphics team because they're making this look really good, and if the reviews talk really good about the graphics, we'll pay you out for that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, so it's like specific employees. Like this is like when people talk about like the game industry and like crunch as a culture, this is what they mean.
Yeah,
This is gross.
yeah,
And unfortunately, there's nothing that says like they're not going to do that again. Of course, we can't really trust them not to,
yeah,
but
and this is interviews coming out. Jason Schreier was probably talking to people who didn't reveal their names, but like I'm sure we're gonna get more of these stories coming out. I know we are because it after Red Dead came out, there's a bunch of stuff coming out about their structure and how they were talking about how if I what was the quote is that like one of the houses was like, oh, I'm crunching and then other people are crunching with me.
yeah, it was. I believe that was an interview with one of with Dan Hauser on Vulture,
Yeah.
and he like was uncritical. Like it was a terrible interview because the reporter was so uncritical of like that statement specifically. But like he did say that like yeah he was working like 100-hour work weeks, him and like the rest of the team, and then he later air quote clarified, stating that it was like him and a select group of like story focused people.
Yeah. And the I don't know. They're these big open world games that are really ambitious. It's usually those ones that are you hear a lot about the crunch stuff coming out of. Like Red Dead Online, Red Dead Redemption 2. It is a beautiful game. I don't It's never worth it for those people though. I would say that for any industry like you should consent to that and if you're not okay with it, you shouldn't be made to do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing is like we need to do like better than like having them than asking like for developers to consent to like the idea of like crunching, and if they don't want to, then they don't have to, right? Because you're ultimately, if you're passionate about something, kind of like end up crunching yourself unintentionally, right? Like I know I've definitely done this with like newspapers, like in reporting, I've done this unintentionally, like, and I've been like admonished for it by bosses. Like we need to actively work to keep that from happening, and that's why you get like stories like with what Supergiant does, which is where they don't let people look at like their work email after hours and they force people to take vacations. Like you need a management system that actively encourages workers to remove themselves from their working conditions.
Okay, yeah. Speaking a little too fast there. I'll agree with you. Like I've had to take I'm taking time off next week. I only work 25 hours a week and that's been a lot for me. So I don't people shouldn't work over 40 hours unless I don't even know if it's unless there are times when it comes up. I don't know. Tough situation.
Yeah,
Very
I feel like
world we live in.
yeah,
But
it's
people shouldn't work over 40 hours. But
yeah,
I've watched my mom do it like our whole life pretty much because you know single mom paying the bills.
yeah. It's oh man, it's almost as if this is a feature, not a bug of capitalism.
Yeah.
Um, but we probably shouldn't dive down
Anyway,
that road.
it's alright. Yeah, we can cut it there. It's cool. There was the someone at Game Informer had a epileptic seizure from
Yeah,
Cyberpunk. I think it was saying it was
Leon the
red
Reaper.
and white flashing of the screen.
Yeah, so this is a sequence that I know that they've made some changes to. I'm not entirely sure what the changes are right now. Like the last update for Cyberpunk that they did was about addressing the brain dance sequence, uh, which is something that I like you told me about where you are, you'll get to pretty soon, where you in these all of Cyberpunk 2077 is in first person, right? Is in this first person camera. So what happens is you sit in this chair in this specialized building that is essentially a future brothel, and a character by the name of, I already forgot her name. A character walks up to you and puts a device on your face, and this device is eerily similar to a device that doctors use to trigger uh, epileptic episodes in people who to see if people are like at risk of epileptic seizures. And
Yeah.
in that sequence, the lights used are these incredibly vibrant and like strong reds and whites, and they flash like and they flash at you repeatedly, and it's very dangerous for people at risk of epileptic episodes.
Especially like, hey, someone who works for Game Informer, their name is Liana Rupert, and they experienced what they call a grand mal seizure,
Yeah,
which is a generalized seizure that produces bilateral and convulsive tonic muscle contractions, and that is not good. Don't I look? I understand. Cyberpunk game. This is someone's idea that they had. This is not a good idea. It's not cool to give people seizures. Don't fucking do that shit. Like, there's this thing about this game. It wants to be very edgy. Jeff Gerstmann was talking about this a lot about John. It just wants to be so cool and in your face about how violent this cult society is, how extreme everything is. And they're trying to make these experiences in, but don't do that. You don't like there was a reason seizure warnings around video games because people are very sensitive to lights, very bright lights.
yeah, and
Crazy.
like the thing to note here is like, you know, uh, you know, uh, while in this during this process, a CD Rupert did follow, like CDPR did follow up with Rupert, and I'm not saying this to like give them credit necessarily, because the thing that happened here is they followed up with Rupert, and Rupert was later on Twitter saying, like, talking about being followed up on with CDPR and just talking to people about it, and a lot of what she was hearing from CDPR on Twitter, I'm trying to find the specific tweet here, but what it sounds like is that they just didn't understand, right? Like, didn't understand why this was bad. Like, they did not design Cyberpunk with the idea of like accessibility in mind in a
Yeah.
real way, and that is really gross and
Yeah.
like bad.
And like you
And it just
said, this
shows,
is the biggest game of the year. It is one of the 5 biggest games of the year. This is people who are excited about this. We'll get into people being too into this game in a little bit, but like this game's got some problems.
yeah, and it sounds like um, it's just it this just shows the importance of designing with accessibility like from the get go, because there are also like a lot of people who have spoken about this game. Like I know I've seen like a thread on Twitter with one person talking about how he can't like access the game without assistance because he can't remap controls.
Mhm.
Um, and like the
Like we said,
more,
this game. I think this game come out half baked. I think there's a bunch of stuff missing. They should have taken. I don't know.
I don't
Like,
think
would another year or two have helped this? I don't know.
I
They're
don't think
already
so.
in so deep with certain things that they need to put it out, or like it's
Like
kind of early access.
so much of Cyberpunk, and this isn't even talking about like the glitches in the game. It's just like so much of Cyberpunk as it has to deal with how it handles representation of like or the marginalized, as well as like its accessibility problems. It just, I don't think like another year would have helped them make it better in that way, because I
Yeah,
don't think they were actively thinking about making it better in that way.
yeah. There's a certain vision for this game, and there's like what the I will call is probably it's probably not a 700-person team, but I'm sure they have a pretty big team working on this who are all trying to get certain things done. You know, I'm kind of rambling, but I they got to put this game out. And it sounds like they just wanted to get this out. They wanted it, and they're gonna keep patching it. People are gonna keep working on it.
Yeah, they're gonna keep working on it and stuff. And like speaking as we're like here and discussing like this game's like accessibility and such, I will also say like has this game been like stressing your eyes as you played it?
Not too much. I sit relatively far away from my TV, and my TV's kind of small. I haven't had
Yeah.
too much. Their development team's about 500, so I think that's pretty big compared to like I think other
I mean
team
it's like the whole
sizes.
studio, right? So like yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty large. Um
Oh, Red Dead Redemption 2 was over 3,000 apparently.
yeah, well
Okay. Well, that
yeah.
that's a different comparison. They've been making games for a long time. They're a really big studio, but
Yeah, and they also have like they have multiple studios. Or
yeah,
CDPR does have two,
yeah.
right? But like one of them is relatively new. I think the LA studio has been open for less than like 2 years. But like as I've been playing like Cyberpunk, like I think it's the saturation of color. But like my eyes are getting tired as I play that game. So like I cannot like sit with that game for a long amount of time before like my eyes just feel like really like kind of like annoyed and like kind of in pain. So like I have to actively work to wash out the color of that game and also turn off subtitles because they're all in this very bright blue font.
And the city's pretty big too. Like if the city's busy enough, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I think if I had a console, I've noticed maybe a little bit, but I think if I had like a Series S or a really high-end PC, it might be different because like I think if the graphics were a lot sharper, it might not be as much. I don't know. Just spitballing here. Um,
It could be.
what other stuff was coming out of Cyberpunk? That I'm hearing about. I think that's a there was
We
the reviews on GameSpot. I don't know if you want to get to that yet, but
we can I think as far as everything like we've discussed quite a bit with Cyberpunk, I think we can move on to the meltdown that people had over a 7 out of 10.
I, looking into it, it's so okay. So Kallie Plagge, I believe is her name. She's a reviewer for GameSpot. She used to be with IGN. She left because of some bad workplace practices and some other stuff. Um, she gave this a 7 out of 10. She played on PC. They put out a statement saying, yeah, she played it for 50 hours. Um, I didn't get to watch. GameStop put up like a 40 or 50-minute discussion. It was her and Lucy James. I think it was Tamor Hussein as well. Did you get to take a look at that? I
I
don't remember who
didn't.
was on there. I'll take a look at the video and see if I can find who was on there. But what I'm talking about is, she talked about a lot of it. It was very buggy. She played a female nomad who specialized in hacking and was dealing with the Deus Ex thing where it's like you go this stealth route and then you end up like fighting a lot of bosses who you have to shoot. That's like a common criticism that comes up out of these like lots of choices, but these are the actual choices you should make. And
Yeah, like
so she gave it a 7 out of 10. The internet, a lot of people, there are a lot of communities on the internet who kind of lost their shit after this. Like I look up GameSpot Cyberpunk and there's reaction videos to people like not being into this. And here there's someone doing what we're doing is they're reacting to the biggest one I'll point out is there's a channel called The Quartering. I don't know the guy's name. I've seen him come up. He usually has very bad takes
I'll
on.
call him Jeremy.
Yeah, he has very bad takes on people who gives reviewers. His title of his video is "Terrible Cyberpunk Review Busted." She didn't even play the game. GameSpot is a joke. That's his title. I watched the video because I wanted to get into what his points were, and his points were at one point in their like 40-minute discussion, she's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't play a lot of the side quests. I mostly was main pathing through the story." Which, if you have a big enough game like this that you are reviewing, and that these, GameSpot and IGN want to put these out at launch, like most people usually will do that.
Yeah, and we also need to mention that like the turnaround period that they had for this review was not long. they did not have a particularly long amount of time with this game.
Yeah.
They had like a little. My understanding is a little over a week.
Oh, here it is. 1 second. So it's Jake Decker, not Timur Hussein, who was on the GameSpot interview with them where they were talking about it. Okay. But yeah, the turnaround time for these, these people are working very hard to put out these reviews as well. And so the video review came out and they turned off the comments on the video review. I read the review fully because they put out the written one first because of there was like certain criterias Cyberpunk that CD Projekt Red was saying for people
Yeah, you
about
could
like you can't
not.
use game footage for initial reviews on this day, but
Yeah,
after this you can use the footage you captured. And so they turned off comments for this, and it's sitting at 9K views like and 30K is disliking. And I think her Twitter right now is kind of like reply only of friends I have, kind of waiting for this. And it sucks that there's such a discourse. Like, you know, we talked about the Battlefield 5 thing where the trailer came out and everyone was there's certain groups of people who what they would say is like review bombing or disliking videos because of negative reactions to like the game industry type of stuff. And this being like game reviewers, like these people are trying to put out information from the experience of a game that they got that is trying to help people. Like this game's pretty buggy and it doesn't run pretty. Even on a PC, there's a lot of bugs. What do you think?
well, I think like to talk about bugs is like to address like one very minor part of Callie's review.
Yeah,
Like so much about her review is like about the fact that she wanted to play as like a stealthier like net runner, and the game still kind of puts you in this position where you have to be okay with and want and interested in unloading on people with like not particularly interesting gun combat. Also, a lot of like her review is about how the side quests that she played are so much more interesting to her than what's in the main story.
yeah,
In
and
like
like
in a way where what's in the side quests presents like a V that is so much more interesting than the V that's allowed to exist in the story, as well as how this game handles like the representation of of marginalized groups, as it refers to like like different ethnicities like within Night City that are around in the environment, as well as like trans people, and like that is her review's really good. Like she is the reviews editor at GameSpot, and she's in that position for a reason. She's really good at what she does, and this review is solid.
yeah, and I just think there's just like groups of people on the internet who just want to go after people who are putting down their cherished thing that's like going to it's like yeah people have been waiting 7 years for this game or whatever, and they want this game to be really good because they want I'm not like legitimizing this, but I can see this being
Well, they want to feel like
someone disagreeing with
validated.
their review, but you shouldn't go target them on the internet because of that.
Yeah, they want to feel validated for being a fan, right? Like they want to feel validated for being excited about this game for 8 years. They want to feel like they didn't like waste like brain power letting this game live rent free in their brains for 8 years. Um, and I mean the fact that people are like really concerned about that is, I don't want to be too dismissive about it, but I think stupid
Yeah,
and like silly, because this is in the end of the day a product being made by a multi-million dollar corporation. Like
people,
Cyberpunk
people,
2077 is not
yeah,
going to change the world.
no, people are very, um, they're very attached to their products that make them happy. People are very attached to Star Wars, and we saw it with Ryan Johnson too. People did not react very kindly to Ryan Johnson after The Last Jedi. Neither did who is the actress who got? I'm pretty sure she got death threats. Kallie Plaghe got death threats from like one of her Pokemon reviews too, which is like the dumbest fucking thing. The
Yeah,
people on
like Callie was getting death threats. Within like we were just talking about Game Informer's the Game Informer article about the epilepsy risk in Cyberpunk. Rupert Leon was people were DMing her videos like meant to like with triggers to set off epileptic seizures.
yeah.
And she didn't even like publish a like opinion about the game and how it was bad. She just published a PSA about like, hey, you should really be on the lookout for this sequence in the game that you can't skip because it
Yeah.
could cause an epileptic episode. And people were trying to murder her.
Yeah, and Kelly Marie Tran from Last Jedi was getting a bunch of hate from like her portrayal of her character in Last Jedi as well. Like there's like so much hate towards like women in like these circles of like what I would call is like culture based around like movies and video game culture. Because I wouldn't say they're dominated by like men, but they're usually like very outspoken men who target these people. I'm sure there are women who target these people too, and anyone, but I don't know, it sucks.
Yeah,
So that's
it's just
my kind of the stuff I wanted to talk about for that.
yeah, I don't know. Like the culture that like games as an industry have cultivated is disturbing.
Yeah, and people use outrage to make their YouTube channel successful because it's easier to react to someone else's content than make something of your own.
Yeah. It yeah, we've seen that like people are drawn to it's very easy to draw people into like a negative discussion about something. Like that's how like, I wind up going through high school and like early college as like a big fan of things like uh Jim Sterling and like the Angry Joe show. And like those aren't as toxic as say our the little our little friend Jeremy here. But they are nonetheless like fueled by anger. It's not great.
No. All right. Well, I think on that, do you want to take a quick break and come back?
Yeah, we can take a break and come back.
Hey, welcome back. We're back from our break. We got a couple more news stories we're gonna run through. First thing I got up here is Control has sold 2 million copies, following November being its best month of sales.
You love to see it.
Love to see it. I think this is coming out after the Ultimate Edition
Yeah.
was
Yeah, so
being
this is
released.
yes, it's like pretty much a direct result of Control being released on Steam as like the Ultimate Edition, as well as just like the Ultimate Edition's release on every other platform.
Yeah, and I bought this game in November it was on sale on Xbox because I had sold my physical copy because I want the Series X version of it, and I was like, okay, I'll rebuy it. It was on sale. I think it was like $10.
Yeah, I did not. I didn't buy the Ultimate Edition. I probably should have looked for it during Black Friday stuff because I am interested in like I've never played that game's DLC and I really want to.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was under $20. I don't remember how much I picked up for on Xbox,
It probably was. Ugh.
which it was cool. I'm glad I did. I think I got to the first boss in that, and I was like, this kind of runs okay on my 1S. I'll wait a little bit. It's the same thing as Cyberpunk. It's like these both of these games are like things I want to play on next generation, so I'm kind of buying them now, play them later. That's a thing I do a lot. Like I bought Tsushima and didn't play it for a couple months until I like was in the mood to play it.
Yeah, like this. And I'm just looking at control screenshots, and this is dangerous.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
because this game looks good. Like this game has looked good always. It's just like the performance on last gen consoles, like even on a PlayStation 4 Pro, like it was fine most of the time, but every time you'd come out of a menu interface, the game would just stutter for a couple minutes.
Yeah. It's still really hard for me to find an Xbox Series S, as it turns out.
Yeah,
People are scooping those up and reselling them still, so
yeah, no, it really sucks.
whatever. Yeah, I know Jeff Bakalar from CNET was going to interview someone a friend of his, like a friend of a friend they knew was scalping these. Initially I thought it'd be interesting to hear them talk about it, but I don't know. It kind of sucked. It sucks for people that are like wanting to get these consoles and have to wait till like 6 months from now when the
Yeah,
next
I
run comes out.
I don't have like much of any patience for
Uh,
scalpers. I think really just the thing to do is to like wait, because the thing about scalpers is they need to sell like their inventory is what we'll go ahead and call it. They need to sell that immediately, right? They can't they can't really afford to wait long, so like they have to post that up immediately. But like as new consoles are going to come in, like if you need to end up buying from like a third party source, they're going to become a lot cheaper pretty quickly.
mhm.
They're still going to be like overpriced because that's how they make money. But eventually there will come a point where they will like be relatively close to market value.
Yeah, and that's usually, it's kind of like a thing about living in our society is that like, yeah, people are going to flip this stuff and try and get as much as they can because the system allows it. And it's still a product. Like people can wait for it. I know that's usually what happens. And like, we're talking about capitalism earlier, and that's usually like the company wants to sell their products and people buy them, and there's not really the people who are the middlemen are the Targets and the Walmarts and the GameStops and the Best Buys who have to kind of sort it out. I think I would watch a video of them talking to someone, but it's like the way you frame it. It's like, yeah, people are doing this and make money off of it, but it can hurt it, you know, it is getting away from the people who want to buy these for their kids for Christmas. That's usually what happens is people wait a couple months. I think it's probably happened with technology a lot.
Yeah,
More recently occurring because people can flip these on eBay and like Facebook Marketplace.
yeah. We also have like smaller quantities of this stuff.
Yeah, COVID right now, yeah, too. They're not putting out as much. Let's see what else I got. There was this Halo Infinite come out. This was like the beginning of the week last week. Was that they had confirmed the date for it? I think my browser just stopped loading. That's fall 2021 is when they're talking about Infinite coming out. So I hope a year is enough for them to get this stuff good.
Yeah, I'm pretty. I was pretty lukewarm on like the Infinite gameplay reveal, but like considering the conversations people have been having around it, I guess I'm like more optimistic than most. But I think by like 2021, I think there could be something
Yeah,
really interesting there, because like we already see like the art that they're sharing. Like right now, I'm seeing this. I'm like, I kind of want to play this game.
this rocket launcher looks good, Austin.
Yeah, this rocket launcher, man, I want to blow someone up with this.
I
Uh,
know, I was talking about being done with guns, but like Halo, at least you're shooting aliens, and I'm a little disconnected from it because like it's not humans in like a crime-ridden city. It's just like my sci-fi fantasy
yeah, I will
stuff.
say that
It's a little different.
the multiplayer
Similar.
map that they've shown off looks like there's nothing to support what I like this read, but this does look like a reworked like Halo 3 map
Yeah, it
a
looks like
little.
Foundation. Is that what it's called?
I think so.
It looks cool. I'm into it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it
there's a
looks
sniper rifle. The sniper art is up too.
yeah, sniper arts here, and then they have all the armors, and oh man,
Armors look really good. You think they're gonna get rid of the clanking noises, Austin?
Probably not, but I can live with it if the armor looks this good. Like, dang, military fascists, I don't like them, but they make some cool looking stuff.
Hey, stormtroopers look cool as it turns out. And this
Yeah,
is like a same vibes. These ones, see, I like it. The first two of these, they have like they have the white, and then they have the colored black and red accents. Like I do that a lot in like character creators and stuff. And then what I will call is the N7 Spartan, who's black with
yeah,
red stripe down their shoulder.
yeah. I was always like, oh, this is Mass Effect armor to me.
Yeah. All right. My computer's not dealing with the internet very well right now, but there was that other one. There's the other article I sent you. It looks like it was like a Inside Infinite from Halo Waypoint. I guess this is 343 Studios' website where they kind of want to talk about the graphics and art update, because a lot of people on their team were talking about, hey, the trailer came out, people were saying the graphics weren't up to what they wanted to for like, because this game is originally going to be like the Series S, Series X like launch window game, while still working on the Xbox One and One X hardware. So like it didn't look that good, and they took the criticism, which there was some bad criticism, but there was some good stuff. It's like, yeah, we want to make this the best looking game we can make. So they're taking another year. They're working on that. They're probably going to work on finishing the game too, making sure the multiplayer is good for people, because it's coming out free to play, and we are in the middle of COVID. So hey, Halo's taking the time to make the best thing they can. It's a big game. Lots of people want it. I'm really excited for it. Free to play multiplayer should invigorate that PC and Xbox audience.
Oh yeah, like I don't know, man. Like it's a really weird thing to be hopeful for Halo, and like considering that like they've kind of whiffed it with their last two endeavors. But like I like what I'm seeing a
Yeah,
lot.
it's not. It's like the other Halos were groundbreaking at certain degrees, and then like 4 and 5 were what I would call Halo games, just regular Halo games that didn't push too much. But that. Yeah, I'm excited for Infinite. It can do. I think what they're gonna do is this could change the landscape a little bit, where we've seen Apex come out free. A lot of people were playing it. They want to do their services model for Halo Infinite and just kind of do what Fortnite and Call of Duty are doing, where they're just updating their multiplayer services for people, which is like different enough from their regular $60 release accessibility. It's
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, I just look at this armor. I'm like, man, Halo. This is Halo.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's good looking Halo.
yeah, but
Um,
we got more news about the
yeah, there's another.
Halo regarding its monetization practices.
Oh yeah, they were saying no loot boxes, right?
Yeah,
I'd pull up the article right now if you want to run through them.
yeah, yeah. So they're talking about this. I think this is part of this direct. This sort of I want to say I shouldn't say direct. It's like a whole format, but this like Inside Infinite deal is that they were discussing the monetization, and what they're saying is like they will offer like pay, like you can pay for cosmetics, but they're not going to do loot boxes. So you're not going to get like random drop of uh, items and content.
Good, because loot boxes very addicting as it turns out.
Yeah,
I had problems with them. I didn't do it too much. I was like, oh, I need to cut this off. Not gonna buy any more loot boxes. I'm
yeah.
good.
There's a
I'd
real
rather just go buy the item. Right.
like I'm glad that I never played like I never got to play Mass Effect 3's multiplayer like online with like money in my bank account, because if I did, I would have been buying stuff and it would have been bad.
Yeah.
Um And like loot boxes they have always seemed very dangerous to me, and that's part of like why I don't get close to games like Overwatch.
Yeah, and I thankfully I've been
You
like able to like I've been playing multiplayer games for a while, so I was used to leveling up and just getting them for free, and I never
you might have cut out a bit.
paid for stuff. I think I've talked about before. The only time I put what's
Okay.
going on? Am I cutting out? Okay. Well, I'm still here and Craig is still recording. We might be all right. My computer's just acting up a little, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I bought a speeder bike in Destiny. I tried throwing $30 at that, and then I got some Titanfall mobile game stuff where I was trying to get some good Titans. And I think that's about as many loot boxes I picked up. Oh, and Clash Royale.
Yeah, and I like
Good
the one
old
and done
Clash
purchase thing
Royale.
because I'm gonna find a way to talk about this again. Because it's like what Titanfall did, and I've always kind of held that that can be a really good model for monetization, as long as it's put into like a profitable game.
Yeah. All right. What do we got after that, Austin?
Well, we have some news regarding Xbox Game Pass, and
Ah,
it's
yes.
supposedly coming to iOS in spring of next year,
Nice.
which is wild. Like I find it very surprising that like Apple is going to open up like its platform to Game Pass.
Yeah, that is pretty wild.
What's going on?
All right, everything is cut out. My computer doesn't want to load. Hey, I'll be
Yeah,
right back. I'll let you do some talking for a
yeah.
bit. I'm gonna try to see if
So
I can sort out this
as
computer
it
thing and
turns
I'll be right back.
out, Apple iOS will allow people to sort of cloud stream games to their phones through their Apple devices through Game Pass sometime in spring. It's only been available on Android up until now. Let's see. Oh, and it's on the browser, so you don't need to go through the App Store to use it. Let's see. Previously, Apple said cloud-based gaming services like Project X would be required to link individual games for purchase from their own App Store pages. So they seem to have opened up their cloud service here. There are still some hurdles that they need to, get past. These Apple wants to make sure that they have control. But it looks like, Microsoft has done enough, or at least it's working for them well enough that they can just go ahead and by their planned date of spring 2020. See, do they actually have a date? Or is it just spring 2021? It just looks like spring 2021. They'll be able to get their service working on the Apple iOS, which is it's huge. Their ability to get this service onto a multitude of platforms is going to be what keeps Game Pass like on top of whatever Sony's next like answer to Game Pass is. Because I don't think Sony is going to be able to replicate the I want to say accessibility. These are mean something different, but the reach of whatever their Game Pass solution is. It comes with some planned expansions to countries like Australia, Brazil, Japan, and Mexico. There's no date on that. No updates to Game Pass Ultimate membership. So yeah, this is really just they get to put this on Apple stuff. So yeah, so part of what Apple announced previously is that users would need to like tie per like their Game Pass stuff to like specific apps and like individual games like on the iOS store.
Yeah.
And now they just seem to be able to do that
They could get.
from xCloud like on its own, which is like Microsoft's big thing, is they don't want people to be going in between Apple apps.
Yeah. And hey, there's a lot of people on Apple, a lot of people on phones just getting video games into people's hands that, it's exciting.
Yeah,
I
I
think the
mean, it's
term mobile game is going to get different because you're going to have people with an app. They can just stream stuff from the Xbox catalog on
yeah,
there.
like this is preparing to get pretty wild, and I'm surprised like Apple like kind of removed that for them, like allowed them to like remove that, considering that like I feel like Apple Arcade is a thing, or
Yeah.
at least it was, or they want to, maybe they're going to abandon Apple Arcade, but
I'm not on an Apple. I don't know how well it's been, but I don't know. I think on the mobile space, people want to play stuff for free and then put money in when they get loot boxes and stuff, or just go watch ads for free stuff. It's probably successful to a degree.
yeah. Well, I mean, the idea is that like it's a subscription service to play like very different like types of mobile games on phones, right? Like
Yeah.
the Pathless is on Apple Arcade. The Pathless being like their most recent release from I forget the name of that studio, but like being I think made in the vein of a game like Journey,
Yeah.
even featuring like the music of Austin Wintry.
Want to get to this?
Yeah, Giant Squid. So the people who made like a studio made of people who made Journey and Abzu.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. Very good stuff. Hey, I'm excited to. When I get a good phone, I'm gonna start doing stuff with it. I got a $5 a month phone that for 2 years, 12 months, it's like ended up being like it's like $200, $300, but it's like the slowest thing ever. It's called an LG Stylo,
Yeah,
and it's like the bare minimum. I'll like be on Google Maps, and then I'll open a window and it'll like close Spotify. It's very Phones are getting weird. I don't know if I want to go to like Mint or something. Trying to ponder what to do with my phone life. But speaking of things that aren't phones, uh, we were talking about some Disney earlier in the show. We got some Warner Brothers news up for what they're doing with the HBO Max and how the their line of movies is going to come to streaming for 2021.
this is wild.
Yeah, yeah. Mortal Kombat. There's the video game connection.
Yeah,
Is
yeah, this is how we
that
tie it to
game's
video
coming
game.
out? Yeah,
Yeah,
that movie's
movie.
coming out.
Man, this
Space
is like
Jam Legacy. Suicide Squad.
Dune, The
Dune.
Matrix 4.
Oh man, I is The Matrix 4 coming out December 22nd,
That
2021? Who knows?
I mean, it's listed
Oh,
there, and
huh. It's an interesting pool. Just Lana Wachowski's the other Wachowski.
it
Interesting.
I don't know. It seems wild to me the idea that a fourth Matrix movie is like a year away.
Yeah. Lily
Um,
Wachowski's not working on it apparently.
and there's
Yeah, so
been
Mortal Kombat's 2021. That's been filming. It's got the Black Ranger from the Power Rangers reboot and got a lot of martial arts stuff. I'm very happy for that movie.
well,
I'm very
I would
excited.
hope.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I can't. I mean, with this like news of this, I think the idea that they're just immediately bringing their like movie catalogs onto HBO Max for I think the news is like for a month, right? It's
30
like the
days, and
month of
then
the release.
I wonder if you just subscribe to HBO Max, are you gonna watch these movies, or if you have Max, do you have to pay to like rent it or something?
I don't think they're going to do like a premium service, a premium access that like Disney did with Mulan. I think they would
Yeah.
have said as much. It's not in this like graph here, so I think their idea is 30 days they leave the service, and then they're going to get like the traditional rollout as far as like DVD and Blu-ray releases.
Yeah. I
Um,
This list doesn't have Wonder Woman 1984, but I think that was coming to HBO
it
Max.
is. It's coming to HBO Max on
Is that
Christmas.
Christmas Day?
Yeah, I think it's like
Just
Christmas
Christmas
Eve or
Day.
Christmas Day.
Everyone wants Wonder Woman movie for Christmas.
I mean,
Families are home, they can stream it, they don't have to leave your house. It's a perfect, the best business move
yeah,
right
no,
there.
I mean, I can't wait. Next Christmas we'll all be gathered. We'll be sitting around the fire. We'll be opening up our. Oh, dang it! It's October 1st, not December. Dang it! Never mind. I was gonna say I can't wait to like explain Dune to my relatives during our next Christmas gathering, but that's in October. That ain't gonna be on HBO Max in December. That's a bummer.
Apparently they're still working on the Snyder Cut. I was curious about it when it was
God,
coming out. 4 1-hour installments in 2021. God, I don't know
I
if I care about Zack Snyder movies anymore.
I don't.
I
I
don't.
just think
I don't
I
think I
just
do.
think it's great that like we spent actual like actual years just harassing entertainment reporters to like ask questions about the Snyder Cut, and everyone was so convinced it exists, and now they're making it. So it never existed,
Yeah.
but because they're making it, and we have trailers for it, nobody has ever taken the time to reflect on the fact that maybe being annoying for the better part of like a year and a half to people on the internet about these Snyder Cut wasn't worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's strange. I'm gonna lose my voice a little. Tom and Jerry reboot. Hey yo, it's live action. Is this the
Cool.
Many Saints of Newark? Is this a Oh, it's a Sopranos thing. I
Yeah,
thought it was
just Soprano, Godfather.
I thought it was a
Or
Boondock Saints thing.
it does, yeah, it does
Yeah.
borrow that kind of look.
Boondock Saints 3 still hasn't come out yet. Those movies are if we were talking about edgy cyberpunk
Oh man,
stuff for like middle schooler and high schoolers, that's what the Boondock Saints is. It's just cool guys doing cool stuff. 80s movies. Um, I'm gonna go on to this other thing. There were some
yeah, so,
where all right, lightning round. You ready, Austin? Pew pew lightning round. Next Bioshock could have sandbox PG stuff, maybe. It's from Michael Cripe on Escapist Magazine, I guess. There are some postings for Cloud Chamber for a game AI programmer and lead designer. I think there are some rumors coming out that they want to do an interactive world system, which I don't know. That could be a neat step next for Bioshock. Which those three games are mostly linear, but they all always
yeah,
had like you're kind of exploring areas in a linear like system.
yeah, and like I think like Infinite in a real way sold itself on like an interactivity and systems that were not in that final game.
Yeah, I remember that. Crowbat Cat did a really good video on it if you watch it, or Crowbar Cat.
Yeah, yeah, because I remember seeing that stuff. I was not like into Bioshock at the time, but like when I played Infinite, I remember like really liking it at the time, even though like I would not hold that same opinion now.
A
Um,
little, a little. There's a lot of weird stuff in the
there's a
Infinite.
lot of stuff in that, but I do think the DLC, like the DLC chapters where you go through Rapture, are
Oh
pretty all
yeah.
right.
Have you played? Did you go back and play the first Bioshock?
I did. It's bad.
Yeah, I story wise, it's a game set in the 60s with a lot of stuff going on about classism and stuff, but gameplay wise, I love BioShock 1. Like I think the world is so creepy and exploring it and the gunplay and using your plasmids and stuff. I'm really into that. But that's cuz like I played it when it released and there was like nothing like BioShock and I never played System Shock on PC. So as like a console player, I was like I've never played a game like this. It's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
BioShock
like
2 really cool, underrated. You can dual wield plasmids and weapons.
yeah. I remember like the thing about Bioshock 2 is I know people are pretty taker like take or leave it with like the main story, but people really like the Minerva's Den DLC.
I never played it actually. I kept hearing because they went on to do Tacoma, didn't they?
Yeah, that was made by the group of people who formed Fulbright and would later make Gone Home and Tacoma.
Okay, it's cool stuff. And then J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot is launching their internal game studio, head by one of the Left 4 Dead 4 creators. God, just Left 4 Dead creators. I keep skipping Left 4 Dead 3, Austin.
I mean,
Let's
you
see.
know,
Yeah, let's see who's in it. It's Michael Booth. That's a. Is that his name in Arrested Development too? It's Bluth, not
Bluth.
Booth.
Yeah, that's
I was just like, all right. Eh, Anyway, but that's cool. Hey, I think J.J. Abrams could get into some video games. I We'll see what happens. See what happens.
I mean,
It's his
eh,
studio, not really as much Abrams himself.
yeah, I think Bad Robot could be a place to turn out some stuff that ranges from perfectly fine to moderately interesting.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, you know, it's good to see. I would say it's good to see like new studios popping up
Hey.
outside of like the traditional like publishing structure that we see in games.
Yeah, diversify the market. Maybe we'll see something in 3 years. Maybe we'll see something in 5. Depends on the game. They say they want to do something co-op and storytelling with some immersive for players and streaming audiences, but who knows what they're actually going to be. I see a lot of. I'm excited for stuff when they talk about cool co-op stuff. So we'll see if it comes through with that. Woo. I think that's it for news this week.
Yeah,
Shout
yeah,
outs. Lots of stuff going on this week.
God, there's so
Christmas is
much.
coming up. Holidays. Kwanzaa. I think Hanukkah might have started already.
Hanukkah has started.
So I'm ready for the holidays. We'll probably be coming back January 3rd, I think is the date we're talking about. I think that's a Sunday. Taking 2 weeks off.
Yeah, take 2 weeks off. You know, just sort of go through the holiday season. Probably put far too much time into Cyberpunk.
Is it undeserved time? I don't know.
Probably.
Probably. But sometimes these games come out and I will just explore them because it's an open world and not focus on the story as much. Like when I played Fallout, I did side quests for the majority of that game, and then I would go, oh, I guess it's time to do the main quest. I've run out of side stuff to do.
I mean, yeah, that's what these games want you to do. You know, that's how you get like, oh, I've played 175 hours of the game and haven't finished,
And
sort
whereas
of thing.
I'm more immersed. I'm playing my character in side quests and getting that experience. Or I'm living in the world. Anyway, all right. We'll be back. We got gaming impressions coming up as well at some point. Where can people find you at, Austin?
If you are still
Twitter.
inclined, you can find me on Twitter at Fearless2 TWO.
I'm at Twitter as well. It's Travis23Doyle. Catch y'all next week. It was a pleasure. Thanks for seeing me, Austin. Good talk.
Smell you later.